Hi everyone, Sid here, back in the car, and I am probably going to look really dumb to a lot of you. It won't be the first time, certainly won't be the last. Anything worth doing is worth doing poorly at first, but I really, I want to crowdsource this because, as you all know, yesterday the FCC voted to repeal net neutrality. Or that's how it was pitched to me that's how I heard of this story for the months leading up to yesterday. But a new fact that I learned yesterday is that the bill that was repealed, the vote passed to repeal the old bill. But this bill in question was written in 2015. So this was really confusing to me because I understand how scary the idea of a two-speed internet, and that basically ISPs selling internet access like the cable television providers of yore sold cable packages. I get it. But the bottom line is, and this might be due to the fact that I'm Canadian. I've lived in Quebec my whole life. It's not like what was so bad about the internet 3 to 5 years ago. That's the thing that I don't get, and the fact that so many people are flipping out over this. It suggests that there might be something that I'm not aware of, and I want to ask you basically to enlighten me, because I'll tell you this. I've seen examples on both sides of the issue, in the sense that a law is passed or repealed. Let's just say passed for the points of this little subrant. So a law is passed and people flip out for nothing, or a law is passed and people flip out for legitimate reasons. And I guess I've also seen examples of people not caring, either legitimately or something really big happened under the radar. Patriot Act. So the issue is, like, for example, here in Quebec, there was a controversial bill that happened. Unfortunately, it was during my 3-month technical difficulty, so I kind of missed the boat as far as recording a video on that. But there was Bill 62, which passed here. I don't know the status of Bill 62, actually, but the idea was that it's a bill that legislates the covering of your face for access to government services. And, it was pitched as being an anti-Muslim bill. And me being a legalese geek, I did what almost nobody did, which is I went and I read the bill, which was about 10 to 15 pages, really not long. So I read the thing, and my conclusion was that people were flipping out for nothing. The executive summary, because this doesn't concern you in the US, not yet anyway, but the executive summary was that it prohibits covering your face for access to government services for purposes of identification, communication, and security. That sounds pretty reasonable. And yeah, if wearing a mask is part of your job, like for security reasons, then that's fine. That was pretty clearly written in the bill. The one thing that I found pretty rich was that they, it was written as a bill on religious neutrality, but the religious symbols in the government buildings here in Quebec were basically written off as being part of the cultural legacy of Quebec. So that I found that pretty rich. Like, for an overall reasonable bill, by the standards of laws in general, I found it rich that they exempted themselves. So maybe there's something like that. When a bill is short and legible, I like to kind of brag about how I actually read it, unlike most people who are flipping out about it. But in this case, the Open Internet Act of 2018, the Open Internet Order of 2015, there's one thing that I still can brag about. I did what almost no one who's flipping out over this did, which is I actually found it. I will link to the document below. However, the reason I didn't read it is because it's 500 pages long. I don't know how that shit goes down there, but the executive summary of what was in the bill was 50 pages long. Even that's too long for me to read, especially not within 24 hours. So, you know, if someone is willing to go through that, I provided easy access to that below. But I just wanted to go into how the reason I wasn't paying very close attention to this issue before yesterday was that, first of all, I was, you know, it was during the 3-month technical difficulty, so I was kind of on internet silence, so I knew I couldn't comment on it anyway. And also, it's a US thing. I don't have any control over anything that happens in the US. I'm not even sure if I would want to exert that control if I lived in the US. That's another issue. So I was kind of passively observing from the bench, basically, and there were a bunch of other controversies, like Trump's tax bill, which I haven't really looked into in depth. I know people are flipping out on that. So that was kind of in the background noise of people flipping out, and I can't really share my thoughts on it online. So, you know, I'll just do improv and other things that I love while, you know, in the meantime. But yeah, I mean, it's basically, yeah, I lost my train of thought there, but to come back to what I wanted to say is that I know during this period there is an argument in favor of repealing net neutrality. Well, clearly there is, because they did it. I don't think even the most dictatorial government will just say, fuck you, I'll do what I want. They'll at least try to look like they're presenting a case. And there was a video that I saw by Steven Crowder. Unfortunately, I don't remember his argument, and even if I did, I would just repeat it by rote here. So I'll link to his video below here. But it's he was mentioning how big companies. He was presenting an argument on how big companies are helped by net neutrality and how small businesses are hindered by net neutrality. So I encourage you to watch that to at least, you know, get exposure to a contrary opinion, which I think is healthy in general. And another thing, and this is what confused me to the point where I want to record this and crowdsource to y'all, is that last night I watched Philip DeFranco's take on the repeal, and he was I can put him in the category of flipping out over it, but he was doing it with his normal DeFranco poise. However, he's usually pretty good at exposing the facts as they are, and he's also good at clearly indicating when he's editorializing and sharing his opinion versus you know, presenting the facts. And in that video, he did mention that it was a 2015 bill that was repealed, which kind of boggles me. Like, what was the internet like 3 to 5 years ago in the US? Was there this 2-speed internet thing? Was there, like, you know, paying a bunch for access to certain things that like Netflix is almost 20 years old. It's not as if if Netflix costs $200 a day, I would have heard about it by now. So that's really what's confusing me. Like, he mentions that it is a 2-year-old bill that was repealed yesterday, and he also mentions how this is a dark time and the fight isn't over, and write your congressman and all that stuff. And speaking of write your congressman, like speaking of people flipping out, there's a friend of mine that I met over the last 2 years, and he is like completely apolitical, and he was posting on his Facebook a link to, you know, easily write your congressman or something like that. Like, for him to do that was like, man, this must be pretty big. for even him to be, politicizing on Facebook. So maybe there is something that I'm missing, but I'll tell you something. Yesterday, when I learned that this net neutrality thing is 2 years old, I was like, what the fuck? It's not as if the internet was a terrible thing beyond 2 years ago. I mean, I made this argument yesterday, like the internet put Trump into power. So why would he want to fuck with the thing that put him in power? That makes no sense to me. But again, having lived in Quebec my whole life, there might be something glaring to you that I'm missing. So to my American friends, please tell me what was so bad about the internet in the United States 3 to 5 years ago, and why haven't I heard about this two-speed internet that might have been happening under the radar? Why weren't you complaining about it on a site that I can access here? And I'm truly baffled by this. So thanks for watching. I really want to know what your thoughts are. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you'll find links to all the crypto and social media and all that shit below. So thanks again. Please enlighten me. And if you really are flipping out for no reason, you're welcome for me giving you the opportunity to realize it. But I'm truly baffled about this. So thank you very much for watching. I'll be paying close attention to this comment section. Later.